This will not end well for those not paying attention. In today's video, I'm going to break down what I believe is happening right now in the greatest transformation of wealth in history. I'm also going to share with you, it's going to be a little bit of a different format. I'm just going to speak. I'm just going to share with you guys the logic around how I make my investments. I'm also going to share with you how I'm positioning myself to make it through this transition. But I'm not going to share it from a hype perspective or a hopium perspective. I'm going to share with you from a logical perspective, and I'm going to take you deep. This is going to take a little bit of time, so buckle up, get your pen and paper out. I'm going to take you through logically, my logical circuit on how I make my investments. Okay. I do them based on history, studying history at a deep level, financially, spiritually, and physically, understanding what has happened in society over and over and over again. Everything is just a cycle. I'm also going to share with you some perspectives from my banking career. I left banking in 2017, but also I'm an entrepreneur as well. I run 6 companies. So I have logic from being an entrepreneur and understanding how businesses work and how businesses scale. I have the banking experience, but I also spend and devoted my life to studying this, the economic cycles, the spiritual cycles, and the physical cycles. And what my expertise is, I'm going to stay in my lane, is understanding the financial cycles. So we're going to talk about the fourth turning, the crisis stage. We're going to talk about what is happening within the banking system and how we're transitioning. We're going to talk about fiat system, how it's changing, right? We're going to a new asset-backed type of currency. But how do you position yourself for something like this? What I want to encourage you to do is I want you to encourage you to go deep into research, to build an investment thesis. And once you build that investment thesis, I need you to stick with it. That's how winning is done. It's not done through hype. It's not done through hopium. It's not done through chasing markets. It's done through pulling the markets to you. Warren Buffett, buy fair, good companies at a fair price. That's it. Buy when there's blood in the streets and sell when there's greed. There's not a lot of magic to this, guys. If there's tons of emotion in your portfolio, if you're panic selling, if you're freaked out every single time the market goes down, you're going to get wrecked. Okay. So first, let's talk about some historical things. Okay. So it's important to understand the fourth turning. So our grandparents from 1929 to 1942, that's a key factor. There's always big economic change during wartime. Okay. We have a peacetime president, though. So I'm going to share with you when we get to that part how I think he's doing it differently, because peacetime presidents do it different than wartime presidents. So 1929 to 1942 was our crisis stage. We had the Great Depression. But why did the Great Depression and that huge collapse in the stock market happen? This is your first hint. Okay. In 1920, okay, they created what's called margin. Margin was created. That's where you could go into a bank, you could put in $1 and they give you $10. They would give you money that you didn't have, and people were gambling in the stock market. Okay. Real estate was booming. The stock market was booming. The roaring 20s happens every single time. Somebody always gets wrecked. The bankers always win. Okay. Remember, billionaires use astrology, millionaires use charts. JP Morgan. I didn't say that. Billionaires use astrology, millionaires use charts. Millionaires use charts. They're emotional. They're charting everything, candles, red, green. That's how you get wrecked. Okay. Because there's a much bigger game happening. Write this down: 10, 10, 20, 25. Everybody was predicting these crazy prices, and boom, the market comes collapsing down. So let's back up to 1920 to 1929. So all of a sudden, the stock market comes collapsing down. Our grandparents went into what's called the Great Depression, right? That was their crisis stage from 1929 to 1942. We went into World War II. After wartime, right, as everybody's looking this way, they changed the whole system this way. We came out with IMF, International Monetary Fund, BIS, Bank of International Settlements, and America became the world's reserve currencies, and Bretton Woods created a gold-backed standard, changed the whole financial system. Then we went cruising into 1971, right? They detached us from the gold standard. They said they were protecting us from speculators, but they didn't have the gold, right? So they detached from the gold standard, and that's where it really hurt us, and we caught the ball. So this is really important. You can't invest like your grandparents or your parents anymore. Just my opinion. You can't invest like your grandparents and parents. A house isn't even a good investment anymore. Think about that. You have to understand inflation. Your financial advisor is telling you that 5 to 6%, I'm getting you 8% on your portfolio. You're not even beating inflation. Why do you think these elites are stacking Bitcoin that grows 50% every single year? Why do you think gold's at an all-time high? Why do you think silver's at an all-time high? Guys, you're in the middle of a massive economic cycle. So we go into 1971, we detach from the gold standard. President Nixon comes on a regular program show and says, we're going to protect you from speculators, and we're detaching us from the gold standard, which made our money fiat. It gave them a full permission just to print. From 1971 to 2025, go study the wealth gap. The wealth gap, poor became poorer, the wealthier became wealthier. Our productivity went up, but our pay stayed the same. Okay. Then we cruise into 2006 to 2008. So I'm going to fast forward because this video will get way too long, but I want you to understand how I make my investments. And there's been over 32 huge market collapses since the markets have been created. Since the 1600s, about 200 years, have been 32 major markets. There will always be a market collapse, guys. Always, always, always. So you have to position yourself properly through these markets collapse. That's a hint right there, okay? So 2006 to 2008, we went through the housing crisis. That was our 1929. It wasn't the Great Depression, but it was a really tough time for people, right? So what happened is America was irresponsibly managing the banks. Look, cats were getting loans. There was no income stated loans. It was absolutely wild. I went into banking at the back end of it. But in 2007 to 2006 to 2008, we went through our big financial crisis, right? Collapsed the markets. Okay. This is where it starts. The narrative starts around cryptocurrency for me. I didn't start investing, obviously, in 2009, but in cryptocurrency, I actually went into banking in 2007. So I had an opposite approach of this. But in 2009, Bitcoin was created right after the biggest financial collapse in history, our history. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa come together to de-dollarize. Right there on the website. We are trying to detach from the West. Isn't that interesting? So now you got Bitcoin is created, has a fixed supply of 21 million. No more can be printed. It's built into the code. Satoshi created something that's actually deflationary, opposite of the US dollar, which is an inflationary. And then around 2012 to 2013, it wasn't called XRP, but Ripple created a technology. I call it a technology. You call it a currency, is XRP. It's a technology that actually fixes the liquidity crisis. And that's the crisis with our banking system is nostro vostro. We have money. If I send you $1 million, I have to have money on this side. I have to have money on this side, $1 million on this side, $1 million on this side, trap liquidity. Well, why do they want to trap your liquidity? And why is it so slow and clunky? Because they're using your money. The bank is using your money to make interest income, fee income, and capital markets income. So the more they can slow down your money, the more they can use your money. They don't want money to move at the speed of light. That's a hint for you right now. They do not want it to move at the speed of light. That's why I'm saying it's not going to end well. For the people who hold on to the traditional banking system, for the banks who do not innovate, it is not going to end well for them, guys. I promise you. For those who are stuck in the old paradigm, it's not going to end for you well, guys. Money is going to move at the speed of light. That's your first hint. Liquidity is going to be freed up, and the whole system is going to change. We're going to go from a slow, clunky banking system where your money's trapped up, where they're using your money, to a fast banking system that is based on customer service and fees. Okay. So banks right now are panicking, trying to get their shit together. Why do you think the Clarity Act is delayed, guys? It's not by chance. Why do you think the Ripple case took 5 years to settle? Use your logic. A non-egregious case, guys, took 5 years to settle. Study the SEC cases against companies. Egregious cases last about 12 to 24 months. The Ripple case lasted 5 years for a non-egregious thing that XRP was sold on the secondary market as a security. That's it. There was nothing egregious about it, but it lasted 5 years, and then the SWIFT system goes live in 2025. And now there's no interconnection. That doesn't make XRP go parabolic, but it does make messaging move at the speed of light. And on 22nd, messaging now is all integrated at the speed of light. So money's going to have to move at the speed of light. Okay. So in 2009, Bitcoin is created. XRP has created a bridge currency. In 2012, Rosie Rios was told to reduce coin and cash usage by Obama, as the 43rd Treasury of the United States, but she couldn't because Obama turned the rescue plan on full blast. 2012, the Mayan calendar was supposed to end. Remember Y2K 2000, nothing happened. 2012, the Mayan calendar was supposed to end, but that was a death and a rebirth of a new system. 2012 was a big shift, guys. So 2012 was the big shift. Rosie Rios told to reduce coin and cash. She couldn't. She said you need a shock to the system to change consumer behaviors.